Good afternoon, everybody. We were going to do a segment yesterday, but we just had too many things going on around here. We had our first official cold snap, so we uh, we had a lot of extracurricular stuff to do yesterday. So we didn't get to Twinkie yesterday. Um, so today, I've just noticed this filly is just it's the last video we did. She was just a little goosey to saddle and a little goosey to unsaddle, and so I want to do a little trick that I learned from my friend Mark Lyon a couple years ago. I was so covered up with horses, I I had to hire out my colt starting because even though it's kind of one of my favorite things to do as far as training horses goes, I also realize that you have to have enough time to do it properly. So I didn't, and Mark is probably one of the most efficient, knowledgeable colt starters that I know personally. But we had a pretty lively group that year, and something he showed me that I think works pretty good on fillies like this one here, who's just a little extra nervous, is he just takes just a regular old feed sack, and he'll just take a couple handfuls of dirt. You don't want it too heavy, but just enough where it's got enough weight where you can kind of toss it. And then he just kind of bundles it up like that. Just takes the end of a lariat rope and just snugs up like that. So basically, essentially, you can just toss it. So I like to do it. It was pretty neat having Mark start all those colts for me that year, because I actually learned a tremendous amount, and I think anybody that trains horses for a living will tell you that the learning never stops. So to see a guy like Mark who starts, I don't know how many a year, probably starts more a year than I do in 5 years, to watch him go through and do his stuff was it was very neat. I learned a whole bunch. So as you can see, we have our culprit here. And when I start this process, I don't necessarily recommend you tie them off tight to anything. But I do like to have a little bit of leverage just in case they get to bouncing around a bunch. Um, I like to make sure that they're not going to Superman me or anything like that. But so we'll just start this off. We'll just kind of toss it out here. She seems pretty okay with it, surprisingly. So we'll go in a little tighter. Amazingly enough, this doesn't seem like it's going to be much of an issue. So we'll just kind of toss it at her. Like I said, she's not tied off real tight, not tied off real hard or anything like that. So I'm actually very impressed that this is going as easy as it is. Like I said, she's a little goosey to saddle and unsaddle, but she's not like, oh my God, I got to get out of here kind of deal. So, I guess it is kind of surprising that she's okay with this like she is, but it's also doesn't have any cinch involvement, which I think truly, as I mentioned, I think that is where most of my problem lies, but it never hurts to do a little extra here and there. This isn't something I'm going to beat to death. Obviously, she's being pretty okay with it. So, as we do on one side, we will do on another. So, hey, darling. So again, we're just gonna kind of fling it at her. Now, if this really bothered this mare, I would do, obviously she's not tied on hard and tight, so she would be free to kind of back her way out of it a little bit to kind of have herself a little fit without risking the injury of being tied on to a solid structure. Not that this filly has any pullback in her, but you never know what might create that. So I'm always pretty cautious of that. Obviously, the way she's reacting to it, she would be fine if I did have her tied off, but I always like to proceed on the side of caution just in case. Okay, so this is going better than expected, but I shouldn't be too surprised because she has been pretty decent about saddling and all that. It's just when she feels the cinch. I think it's important too. As you can see, this filly's a little grimy. I think I mentioned on Saturday that she had broke her water in her pen, so her pen was a little muddy. And she apparently likes to roll around in it like slop. So she's a little grimy. So I'll kind of knock some of the heavy stuff off, but I think it's really important too when you're starting colts. You got to remember it's like taking a guy that hasn't done any manual labor and handing him a shovel and no gloves is, blisters and calluses and all that stuff form. So I always like to be sure, especially with a cinchy one, that I always check their cinch area pretty thoroughly to make sure that they don't have any rubbing or any sore spots or anything there. Just because, if they're cinchy already, then adding a saddle to or a cinch tightened up to a sore spot probably is not going to help our cause. So if you do find that, there's plenty other exercises we can do. There are plenty other things we can do to help us get to the riding stage until you heal those sores up. Luckily, this filly doesn't have any, so we're pretty good about keeping our cinches pretty clean and all that. But no matter what, usually at some point in the starting process or early in the riding process, you will have to deal with a little bit of sore spots on their cinch area. So again, she's a little tight, but not horrible. But I think it's always good, if you have a suspicion maybe something might help you along, to go back and just check. That we didn't hurt nothing by doing the old feed sack trick on her. So, if anything, it's just one more thing that we know isn't going to really bother her that much. You'll have to excuse me if you catch me snorting or sniffing too much, because we have a little bit of a family cold going through the house right now, and it's also windy and dusty and cold. So you're just going to have to deal with me sniffing and snorting and all that good stuff. So as you can see, when I first cinched her up a little bit, she kind of overreacted a little, but I was able to get a hold of her and talk her out of it. So halfway expecting this filly to do just as she's doing right now, is just being a little explosive in the beginning. And part of this is she's just a little bit cinchy. She's just wired a little bit this way. And I'm not upset with her about it. I'm not anything. I mean, it's part of who she is, but it's also something that we're going to have to develop as we go. But the further we get into it, there has to be some sort of compromise on her part as well as mine to start our day off without blowing up. Now she gets a little bit of forgiveness today because the wind's whipping through here. It's significantly colder than it was last week, but still, we need to start developing. We need to start developing a little bit of a different start to our sessions. So we're going to just start breaking some things down a little more, and as you can see, I am stepping into her quite a bit to make her yield and then pulling her through. And a lot of this has to do with simulating that if I were to get on this filly and she was to kind of lift her back up and be a little bit cinchy or bronky, I want to be able to reach down and just take the slack out of the lead rope or the bridle reins or whatever I have on her and be able to kind of break her loose a little bit. And what that's going to do is save us both some trouble. I want to be able to talk this filly out of bucking or tightening up. So if I can come down here and just take the slack out of this and make her move her feet and redirect her, it's going to both help me not get bucked off, and it's also going to help her figure out how to work through some of her nervous energy in the very beginning. Because as you can see, kind of as we go, we're getting to the point now where as we go a little deeper into things, this filly kind of settles in pretty decent. So again, we're just gonna start working on breaking some more stuff apart so that when we ultimately go to swing a leg over her, I have a few safety switches or a few safety levers that I can pull if things start getting a little hairy. Because sometimes if you don't go through this and you just kind of rush the process and go to jumping on them and you don't have any handle, if they go to hogging around, you better be able to hold on tight. See, like right here, it's also very important that she respects my space here as well. So when she does tighten and she wants to brace, one of her things is she just tightens her whole body. And whatever's in her path is insignificant to her, where I need to make sure that no matter what, no matter how rattled she is, no matter how upset she is, that she is aware of what's going on around her, and she respects things that might be in her path. And that's going to help her out, because right now, if I were to just kind of let her go blind and do her thing and be damned everything around her, it's just going to make the whole experience a little more traumatic. She's going to hold on to it more, because when she comes to and all the wreckage is done, she's going to be even more wound up. So here, I'm just trying my hardest to just stay patient with her and let her work through some of this stuff and just move her around and let her deal with her own insecurities here, all while being able to take some signals and cues from me and to think through things. And that this is going to help us both learn how to work together when we start actually riding. So right here, this is all pretty dang good. She's still not overly happy. I still think we have a few little explosive spots in there, but I don't think there's nothing I can't talk her out of while I have a hold of her. So some people, when they start this stuff, they'll just kind of saddle them up and step out of the way. And I've seen it done and I've seen it work. It's not really my deal. I don't ever really like to kind of let them buck if I can help it. I mean, I've had plenty of them do it, but I prefer it not be on the menu. So I'll do a little bit of extra time like this with stuff cinched up and stuff. I'll snug it up a little bit as I go and just make sure I got a hold to make sure I have some sort of signal to this filly where if things go awry, I can get a hold of her and I can kind of bring her back down to planet Earth. So that's pretty successful there. I mean, we had a few little spots, a few little tighten ups. She's kind of threatened to buck a couple times, but never truly got after it. So this saddle's snug now. I mean, I don't know if I would just step on it. I don't know if it's that snug, but it's snug enough to where she can kind of get it on a little bit without too much going on. So what I'm going to do is you've seen me work her a lot on the end of this rope. But now I want to kind of up the ante just a little more. And I'm going to actually turn this filly loose and kind of work her with the flag. And I'll show you what I do once we start moving through these steps of when I turn one loose and start kind of working on making one go forward just a little more. Because to this point, forward has been a main concern for sure, but a lot of it's just been trying to get her over the cinch and having a little more ability to reach in there and help her if she does get uptight or worried. But now we're kind of getting to the phase where now I really kind of want to start challenging her a little bit more on making her go forward and being able to communicate with her from a little bit farther off and getting her to where she starts accepting it to a different degree. I apologize if I'm stumbling over words. It's hard to concentrate and think and do all the other stuff at the same time. So I'm going to break out our friend the flag. As you saw last Saturday, it kind of came to our rescue there towards the end of it because she was kind of sulling up a little bit. So here I'm just going to ease around. I'm just going to let her go. So here I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on her. I always like for my horses to face up. So they're going to get more pressure from me. They're going to get more pressure from me if they turn their butt to me. Hey, look at this. This is great. They're going to get a lot more pressure from me if they turn their butt to me because I want them to come to me. I don't want them to try and escape. I don't want run away to be in their mind. Hey, this is great. What a difference, huh? So she's moving forward very willingly right now. She's moving her ears around. She's a little bit tight, but she's not anything like she could be at this stage. I was halfway expecting to have her hogging around here and bellowing at us, But this here is pretty dang acceptable. So I'm going to back up, see if she'll face. Wonderful. I love when they'll do that. When they'll just kind of follow through and let me, you guys might get it up close personal here today. But I love when I can back off and they'll just kind of step to me. I mean, this stuff here is wonderful. This is some major win stuff here. And this right here is just, I mean, these are the moments here where I actually feel like I'm getting something accomplished. Wonderful. This is great. So as you can see, I'm not putting a ton of pressure. I'm just letting her kind of go at her own pace here. She can't decide if she wants to trot or lope here, so I'm good with just forward. I mean, forward, we're not hogging around. We're doing very good here. She's nice and happy. Oh, there you go. That's a great release. Excuse that view. So you'll notice this filly right now, while we're going through this process, where she is kind of a high stress. She's a little bit of a worrywart. You'll notice she poops a lot, and she poops a lot a little bit. And a lot of that is due to stress. So it's just kind of like, oh, I got to poop. Oh, I got to poop. But I just want everyone to make sure to know that I do notice that, and I understand that this is adding some extra stress. The whole starting process is adding a little extra stress in this filly's life. So we do have her on a gastric supplement, and you know, she, of course, we make sure that she's feeling her best. Unfortunately, things are stressful when you're getting started, especially when you want to have a little more of an opinion about how it's going to go, like this filly does. But this is wonderful stuff here. I am absolutely thrilled with what we just went through. I was actually pleasantly surprised with the feed sack, especially given the fact that she had an extra day off. I was very, very thrilled with the feed sack, that she accepted that. And then very thrilled that even though we had a few tiny moments when we first inched her up, I was very happy with what we ended up with right there. And you can see she's licking, she's moving her ears around. She's just happy to be right here, standing here next to me. So as I've been preaching throughout this little series, this is very much a win for me. So this is very much a quitting spot for me. This is what I want this filly to start hunting every day, because the closer we get to this being automatic, where I can just come in here and saddle her and turn her loose and let her get some of the fresh off, the closer I am to being able to move into the next step, to where I prepare her for me to get on her. And I just want to stress that, you know, I try and put my money where my mouth is on when these horses are doing when these horses start making progress of this kind. I want to make sure that I'm here to reward them just as fast as they're here to give it to me. So that's a very important part of my process. Some people, I mean, we got plenty of horse here. I mean, she's barely sweaty. Her heart rate's barely up. She's not breathing heavy. We've darn sure had her a lot more wrung out through this series than we do right now. But I'm going to use this hopefully as I'm going to hopefully be able to take advantage of her still being pretty fresh and her being pretty relaxed right now as a quitting spot to her going, oh, maybe if I just come out here and just entertain this guy for a few minutes and just cooperate with him and not overreact, this gets done a whole lot quicker than if I come out here and want to bow down and fight with him over it or overreact about things. So I just want to make sure that we end on a positive every time, and the first available positive we can end on, we try and end on. And I do that throughout. I try my hardest. I shouldn't say I'm religious about it. Sometimes human nature gets in me, and one more, maybe a little more, enters my brain quite a bit. Like part of me right now wants to kind of jump into the next step and fly with the stirrups on her, which I'll show you probably within the next few days, next few sessions. But the logical thinking part of me says, you got a whole lot done here today, and now's a good spot to show her this level. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm happy. Watch her turn around and start hogging now all of a sudden. But I'm happy that we're at this point, and I just in the next day or two, we might work her tomorrow where we had not such a strenuous session today, just to retouch some of this, or we might wait till Thursday now, I guess. So we'll just have to see, how our day's looking tomorrow, or we might give her an extra day and see how much she retains. So, well, we're going to call it quits here. And again, if anyone ever has any questions or comments or anything to add, I love talking about this stuff, and I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about it. So feel free to give me a call or message us.